This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and TNA will book Garrett Bischoff versus Rampage Jackson in a steel cage match because, well, just because. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really beginning to dread these episodes when Impact is taped every other week. Most of the time the crowds are so burned out by that point that they can't get excited about anything, which just causes the show itself to feel like it's really lacking energy. And that's a shame because there were some things to get excited about this week. But when even Hulk Hogan isn't getting that great of a reaction, you know that drawing any real crowd heat from the live audience is going to be like pulling teeth. Anywho, we've reached the point in the Bound for Glory series where they're starting to throw specialty matches at us for a whole bunch of points. Last year it was Fatal 4-Ways. This year they're doing the wild card thing where they draw names at random, put some odd couple tag teams together, and then pit them against each other. Personally, I wish they could just pick one format for the Bound for Glory series and stick with it. Make it a tradition so you can start to anticipate these things and get excited for them. Doing it differently every year kind of prevents that. But at any rate, this basically amounts to everyone in the tournament teaming with the most awkward person possible, an idea that probably would have come off better if it had happened later on. It's still pretty early in the tournament, there hasn't been much time for any real issues between the participants to fester. If this had happened maybe a month and a half from now, the pressure cooker would have had a chance to build up a little more. But it is what it is. They made 3 tag team matches out of this. I liked that they tried to do some storytelling with the strange bedfellow pairings, but the results were a little mixed. AJ and Joe versus Hardy and Park wasn't that interesting. Bradley and Hernandez versus Magnus and Anderson had more going on, with Anderson refusing to tag in, but it also made the least sense. Anderson wants Magnus to take a beating, fine, but shouldn't he have waited until they had the match won to do that? I mean, if Anderson's team didn't win the match, he would have been out 25 points himself. I mean, yeah, Magnus won the match on his own, but Anderson didn't know that was going to happen. That was some head-scratching booking right there. Daniels and Aries versus Rude and Kazarian was the only really interesting one, and thankfully this was the one that got more than 5 minutes, but even at around 10 minutes this still felt too short. It was good, but it's frustrating because I know these teams can give us so much better than this if TNA would just let them. I still want this program to happen for pure entertainment value, if nothing else, but this seems to be the closest we ever get to an honest-to-God Bad Influence versus Wet Dream Team feud. Yeah, you heard me. I didn't botch anything. Fuck dirty heels. They're the Wet Dream Team, goddammit. Yes! All 3 matches were decent to good while they lasted. Nothing really amazing here, but nothing bad either. The winning teams go into a gauntlet battle royal for 25 points. Again, not great, but not bad. I liked the final part with Magnus and Rude a lot, and it's great to see Magnus getting put over so strongly. He's definitely a future main eventer for TNA, and they're finally treating him like he is. They're really getting behind him now, and everything's clicking so far. You got a good thing going with Magnus right now, TNA. Please don't screw it up. While this part was good, the company is still hit and miss on how they present the BFG series matches. Every time they try to have all the participants wrestling on the same show, they run into timing issues. In this case, the first 2 tag matches being so short that they didn't feel like they meant anything. It might have been a better idea to save the gauntlet match for another show so you could have time this week to let the tag matches breathe a little more. That, or just scrap the tag matches and just do a gauntlet match with all 12 guys. It seems like that would have accomplished the same thing. I know they're pressed for time, and sometimes booking too much is unavoidable, but when they cram so much into one show, the BFG series just doesn't come off well. If I'm being honest, all this stuff kind of felt like pre-show material before we got to the knockouts. Now, show reports said that the Gail Terran ladder match was just off the charts. TNA was hyping it on social media all week long, so by showtime, there was a lot of buzz for this. This felt like a big match. TNA definitely treated it like one. And after the great last knockout standing match, they had a lot to live up to. And did they do it? That's a tough question. They both worked really hard. They didn't shy away from anything. They told a good story. There were some cool spots like the figure 4 through the ladder, which hurt Taryn's knee, which led to her not being able to grab the contract, but didn't stop her from jumping off the ladder onto Gail. The finish was really creative in a good way. But my favorite part was Taryn doing the spear through the ropes and hitting Gail this time after Gail ducked out of the way when she did that same spot in their last match. There was some good attention to detail here with the booking and some really great effort from both women. That said, I think some people have been slightly overrating this one. For me, this fell a little short of expectations. Not because of anything they did, but because expectations were so high. I think the constant internet chatter ended up hurting this one a little bit because TNA hyped the crap out of this for a week. Everything we heard about it was like, this was amazing, it was mind-blowing, it was the best women's ladder match ever. And I don't think it quite reached that point. It was a very good women's ladder match, no question. I just hesitate to call it great. Personally, I think the last knockout standing match was the better of the two. I think they fell a little bit short of topping that one, not for lack of trying though. The hype machine was kind of working against them this time. And part of the reason why their Slammiversary match was so jaw-dropping and so memorable was because expectations were here and they delivered something that was up here. This time, we were expecting something spectacular, and I just don't think they were able to top themselves. This might just be me being a tough grader, but that's the way I feel. Again, not crapping on this at all. I appreciate the work they put in. Like I said, this was very good. I just think the hype machine got a little overexcited this time, both before and after the match. I'm fine with Gail Kim winning. That sets up a rubber match down the road. Mickie and Taryn for the title is probably the one they're building to, but in the meantime, Gail versus Mickie should be a fun short-term feud. And yes, we have seen that before, but with Mickey's new heel character, it does at least feel fresh now. I wouldn't want to spend months and months on it, but to fill time until Taryn gets her shot, it makes sense to do this, I guess. Minor nitpick, but why was ODB out there? It was a ladder match. They didn't need a referee for this. Whatever. So TNA released Matt Morgan, and I'm okay with that. I've been saying for a long time now that they needed to either pull the trigger on Morgan or just let him go. They weren't doing anything with him. I guess Morgan saw the writing on the wall, so he asked for his release, and now he's gone. It's kind of a waste of potential. TNA never figured out how to use Morgan right, but if they weren't going to give him a real shot, then this was best for everyone in my opinion.
Thank you for your irrelevant opinion.
The final segment of the night was where we found out if Chris Sabin was going to cash in the X Division title for a shot at the World Heavyweight title at Destination X. And since I am Chris Sabin Nuthugger #1, as Schlage Daddy would put it, was I marking out for this segment? You bet your ass I was. And not just because it was my favorite wrestler getting the biggest rub of his career, but because it was a great segment. Hogan's endorsing Sabin, Bully Ray interrupts, he tears Sabin down, Sabin fires back with a great promo of his own, and Sabin's never really been known for his mic skills that much. I think he's a solid, if unspectacular, talker. Not scintillating, but in the right situation, he can be better than a lot of other wrestlers. This was the best promo of his career. Easily. It was great that he brought up his history with Bully and Team 3D, how he pinned Bully in 3D's retirement match that wasn't really a retirement match, how he's the only guy to ever kick out of their finisher, because that history, along with the knee injuries and everything else, is what makes this a great underdog story. And while I'm not expecting Sabin to win the title next week, because of all that, because his promo was so good, because he was put over so well here with Hogan and the world champion and the main event Mafia all acknowledging him, they did enough to make me believe that he has a chance. Maybe not a great chance, but a chance. I don't feel like Sabin winning the world title is out of the realm of possibility, and sometimes that's all you need. I thought this was a fantastic segment. It was one of those all-too-rare occasions where TNA gave a young homegrown star every chance to succeed and make the most of a big opportunity, the likes of which the homegrown talent doesn't get nearly enough, and he nailed it. Great ending to the show, and great hype for Destination X. Bully brings out his cronies to intimidate Sabin, but the Main Event Mafia come out and say that they're going to make sure that match next week is one-on-one with help from their new member and heavy hitter, Rampage Jackson.
Say what?
The cross-promotion guy, the special attraction, former MMA world champion, so we're good there. I think this is really damn cool. If Rampage is going to be like the enforcer for the Main Event Mafia, then he can fill a unique role in the group without watering it down like we've seen with the Pussies in Leather, a group that from day one was diluted by having too many members, most of whom don't really mean or contribute anything. Nux. And wouldn't you love to see Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe try to face off with Rampage? Oh my god, I would laugh my ass off. Just one look at these two factions and you see the obvious huge difference in star power, star quality, talent, charisma, and potential. The veteran/mentor Sting, the main eventer Kurt Angle, the muscle Samoa Joe, the up-and-comer Magnus, the enforcer Rampage Jackson. Now that's a fucking faction, TNA.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Everyone is different. Everyone has a specific role. Everyone gets to stand out. No one is getting overshadowed. And the group is just large enough to make it look like a big deal without overdoing it by adding too many members like so many other factions in this company have done over the years. Don't add any more members. These 5 guys, this is the Main Event Mafia right here. And I think it's fucking great. Awesome final segment. Awesome.
And if you're not down with that, we have 2 words for you. You're welcome!
Great final segment. Young talent being elevated. Really good knockout ladder match. BFG series stuff was somewhat hurt by the lack of time once again, but I definitely liked the outcome. The crowd may have been burned out, but that had nothing to do with the quality of the show. Nothing was bad this week. This was the first Impact in a long time where I really couldn't complain that much about anything. I mean, sure, some things could have been better, but nothing sucked. Kudos on this one, TNA. Well done. Oh, and Ken Anderson was voted in as the new VP of the Pussies in Leather. I don't care.